This is a short video to tell you how to put together your Firefit Company water feature. This is going to be a video for the 650mm leaf version, but it will be the same for anything. I'll start by showing you what we've got, the pieces that we've got. So down here we have the base that the water will sit in. Then we have the tube that the sandstone sphere will sit on. We've got all of the electronics, the pump and light, the sphere, the stand to protect it all, some water to go in it, the metal sphere, and a spare set to use as a fire pit. Okay, so we'll get going. So we'll start by putting the stand on a flat surface. We're going to build the stand and the sphere first, and then we're going to put the metal piece on top. So this is the piece in which all of the water will sit. Next I'm going to put in the stand for the sandstone sphere. Now you want to get this nice and central. Try and make sure it's even all the way round. So, in the bag, the first piece we have is the pipe that has the LEDs at one end that go at the top of the sandstone sphere, and the piece that comes out of the bottom goes onto the pump. We'll need that in just a moment. Next up, we have the power supply. This bit has to be protected from the weather, either by being inside or by being in a waterproof socket. This piece is IP65 rated, so can live outside, and the final connection will be watertight. Finally, you have the pump and a long cable. There's 5 or more meters of cable on this, so you can leave a long distance between the water feature and where this plugs in. The first thing I'm going to do is to put the pump in place. I'll start by unwinding this and laying the cable out. This section eventually is going to go and plug into that cable block. For now, I want to take the pump, and in this base there's a notch cut out for these 2 cables. I'm going to lay the pump in the centre and lead the cables out underneath. Again, make sure this stand sits centrally. Stop. I'm standing it centrally so that the outlet is facing upwards and the pump is approximately central. Please note this bit on the side, which is the flow control. I've got it all the way open so I can see the most gap, but later on you'll be able to adjust this to adjust the flow of water. So the cables, this is the cable coming from the power supply. This one will eventually connect to the LED. They come out from under the sphere stand and then go over the side here. We'll plug those in later and they'll remain. Okay, so next we're going to put the water pipe into the sphere. The sphere has 2 ends. There's a large drilled end and a narrow drilled end. The large drilled end is obviously the top. You want to get the pipe that we discussed earlier. This has got a cable on it and the water pipe. Start by poking the cable through the hole. If you put the sphere on its side, that will make this easier. And when you push that through enough, the cable will come out the bottom. That then allows you to pass the cable through, pass the pipe through as well. And then when it gets there, push the top end flush, like that. So now you've got out of the bottom a short length of pipe and the cable that remains. The next thing you want to do is to move the pipe nearby and run the cable into the stand and out of the small notch at the back where the other cables come out. So I'm just going to lift this, and now I've got that cable coming through here. Next up, I can connect this cable. This will be the cable that carries the power just for the lights, and then screw that up to make it waterproof. Finally, that should sit just outside of the tube here. The next task is to lift the ball on. We're going to put the ball in and then we'll reach through the big hole to connect it up. So, lift that on. Now it's not a light piece of stone, obviously, but it should be liftable by one strong person. Once it's on, you then want to level it as much as possible. You'll have to adjust this again later, but you want this to be top dead centre. Now that I've done that, I can reach in and put the pipe into the top of the pump. The next task is to fill this with water and give it a test. Okay, so I've topped the water up. It's now about 10 or 15 mil below the top. Now's a good time to test it. So around the back here, I've checked that the LED cable's out of the water. And I'm going to take the main power cable and take that off towards my power block. Now for us, we've got it out in the open, but you'll probably want this bit inside. Certainly, this piece will need to be waterproof. So, same as with the other section, I plug this into the end there, push it in nice and snug, and then screw it down. Once that's screwed in, this piece is waterproof, so that could be outside if you needed it to be. One final check, just going to check that the pump is covered in water, which it is, and that the pieces are all in the right place. And then we're ready to turn it on. Now the piece is going, we can see the LEDs are lit and the water's at the top. You can, if you want to, turn the flow of water down, and now's a good time to check that it's level. It looks to me like I've got that in a fairly good position. The water's flowing quite evenly. If I had it twisted, the water would flow all to one side. I'm happy that's working okay, so I'm going to turn that off and then finish putting the rest together. Okay, so next up we're going to put the ring around the base, which is what the fire pit sphere sits on. So, on this ring, you'll see there's a notch out of one side. That's for the cables to go through. My cables are coming out on my left here, so I'm going to line that up. Then I'm going to slot that down over the top so that the cable fits neatly underneath. You can then run that off to the power supply wherever you need it. Next up, I'm going to check that this power cable for the LED that we connected earlier, I'm going to tuck that in that gap just to keep it out of the water. It's waterproof, but it makes sense to keep it out of harm's way. Now that I'm happy that's centrally located around the bowl underneath, I can lift the fire pit sphere on. This piece is lighter than the sandstone sphere, so it should be feasible to lift it. You grab it there, we'll lift it over the sandstone sphere and then gently lower it down in place. Again, make sure that it's level in either direction. The final step is we have these two pieces which slot in just to cover the gap. They go around like that. One slots in that side and one slots in this side. And when they meet up, that just gives it a nice finish. The only thing left to do now for the water feature is to plug it in again, sit back and enjoy the effect.